Hey guys, this is King Juggalo 11B and I'm coming at you now with my Chazz Princeton character deck. Now my Bandit Keith one was different to how you'd normally expect a Bandit Keith character deck to be done, in the way that it was focused on the anime, so it was focused on one copy of each card, and this is very similar. The interesting thing about this particular build of Chazz character deck is that it doesn't run armed dragons because I couldn't afford them. It doesn't run Ojamas because they suck. And of course, as I said, it only runs one copy of everything because we were trying to abide by anime rules. So yeah, there are a few things that I had to put in to justify using other cards, which Chazz did use. But you know, we worked it out logically and it seemed very fair. So you know, there was after eliminating the armed dragons and so on, there was a lack of things that I could put in. But anyway, we'll just go straight into it, and we'll look first at the spare deck. So there's one V to Z Dragon Catapult Cannon. I actually commented the other day that with only one copy of everything in the deck, I was never going to get this out without like massive return from the different dimension players, and that seemed very unlikely because I never get all 5 pieces anyway. And then as soon as I said that, the next game I almost actually did get this out. I had the ZW Tiger Catapult and the ZW Tiger Catapult and Y and X on the field. So I only needed to draw a Z Metal Tank. And unfortunately that did not happen. But yeah, he's a fun enough card if you can actually get him out, which I have not. Next is a slightly more realistic card, the XYZ Dragon Cannon. An undeniably great card, undeniably loved. And yeah, that's basically the vagina boob. Okay. Next we have XZ Tank Cannon. Only one copy of this again, and only one of the other combinations that I do have. So he's the only one in this deck. But he does have his day. He's quite useful if you can actually get him out. It seems like I get X and Z together, but never actually get Y. So that's why I make this a lot more than I make this. And then we're moving on to a card I never make, which is Darkblade the Dragon Knight. I wanted to use this in a deck like so badly, but its effect is actually sort of useless. So yeah, he ended up in here, and I never make him unless the 2 instances where I have been able to make him, I've needed a better solution to things. Like there's been like a 2-5 beat run field, and he's only 2-2. Next is Fiend Skull Dragon. He is in here for a reason, and that reason being that he is an Archfiend card. But I've never actually made this guy either. Next, finally, we have VW Tiger Catapult. I make this guy quite often, and his effect to change battle positions of monsters is extremely helpful at times. We're on now to the monsters, and as I've said already, this is a very unorthodox build of a Chazz character deck. So, as you can see from the first card, which is Misera Deville, the only high level monster in the deck apart from like 1 tribute cards. The reason for this guy is that he is really cool. I wanted to use him in a deck. I'm not sure if this guy was in his hand. I don't think it was, but Pandemonium was in his hand, so I've tried to make the deck to run a small Pandemonium engine that doesn't actually run any Archfiends, since there was an Archfiend player in the anime. But basically, this guy, if you have watched the Bandit Keith character deck, the gimmick in that deck is to get all 3 copies of 7 on the field, and then ditch them all to draw 3 cards and gain 2100 life points. The gimmick of this deck is to get Warrior Zera on the field with Pandemonium, drop this, and then your opponent discards 3 random cards. I've actually got this off, and if you can get this out and your opponent doesn't already have a stronger monster on board, he severely limits the options of how to get over him, especially since it's already quite limited your options due to the fact you're playing character decks. He really does make things difficult because he's going to attack. It's going to make it hard to get the tributes needed to make something bigger than him. You're going to have it in your hand or draw it and not have it discarded by him. So that's pretty good. For those of you who don't know, when he's summoned, if Pandemonium is on the field still, your opponent discards 3 random cards. So he basically just destroys your opponent's hand. Next is Helperwemmer. It was in his hand against Jaden, and again, just like Misera Deville, I've always loved this card, which is why I got it in Ultra. Next we have Lesser Fiend, because it is now treated as an Archfiend card, and that's also why we're running the Fiend Skull Dragon. I thought I'd run a level 5, a high level Archfiend card, so that I could get Pandemonium's effect off to search for Archfiend General, and so on and so forth. But yeah, he's a good guy to get on the field since he banishes stuff. It limits your opponent's options in the character deck format. That's pretty good. Next we have Mephis the Infernal General. I once won a game because of this card and Grave of Enkindling. So yeah, you can't actually count this guy out. I really wanted to use him as well, even though I know he's pretty weak and you do have to tribute for him. But his defense damage does come in handy, and your opponent then has to discard a card, so that's pretty good. We have Arm Dragon level 5 and level 3. I don't have the rest, but so this is as far as the tree goes. But this guy, you know, you ditch a monster and then destroy a card with less attack. That's really helpful, especially if you have this guy in hand. I don't really like ditching this guy because I like, you know, getting him out on the field. But if needs must, then that's a very helpful combo. I've done that a few times. And furthermore, Arm Dragon level 3, I've noticed there's a trend that me and my friend the Guardian Circle have noticed, in that you open this and Call of the Haunted all the time. So you just set this and set Call of the Haunted, and then this gets destroyed, and then during your end phase you go Call of the Haunted, bring it back, and then standby phase Arm Dragon level 3. Level 5, sorry. So yeah, it's a surprisingly consistent play, that just a 2-card Arm Dragon Call the Haunted combo, but it does work, and it does work for some reason, and yeah, it means you get a nice big boss monster on the field quite easily. Next up, we have the normal monsters of lower levels, so X-Head Cannon, the Warrior of Zera for Misera Deville, Dark Blade, and I couldn't resist Archfiend Marmot of Nefariousness. Basic reasoning for this is that if anything gets destroyed while Pandemonium is on the field, that is an Archfiend card. So Lesser Fiend, a Fiend Skull Dragon, or Archfiend General who's coming up later, then you can search this guy and it's a free discard. But yeah, there is a lot of discarding in the deck, so it's nice to have someone who you can just ditch. And also he does cheer you up sometimes when he just suddenly appears out of the blue. In his little face. But yeah, I just couldn't resist running him. He actually did use this. It was one of the many cards that that he found in the well, and since it was an Archfiend card, I thought, yeah, I need to put that in. And finally, the Tiger Jet. So moving on to the effect monsters, we have 3 Chthonian Soldier, and yes, they are ultimate rare. You have to trick out your boys, and this is the main card of the deck at the end of the day. He did run 3, so you know I'm allowed to run 3 of this, and he is a surprisingly good card. There's a noticing trend in the Chthonian cards and in the deck in general, that you know, of taking damage from your opponent and taking it back yourself, or taking damage and giving it to your opponent, and that to me sort of, in terms of Chthonian Blast and Ring of Destruction, it sort of suggests to me that they were trying to say Chazz self-harms without having to say Chazz self-harms in a children's cartoon. But anyway, with that dark turn taken over, we'll carry on to W-Wing Catapult for obvious reasons. Archfiend General, I've already said to search Pandemonium and can be searched by Pandemonium, and then you've got a good little 2-1 beater. Pitch Dark Dragon to make Dark Blade the Dragon Knight. Cave Dragon to make the Fiend Skull Dragon. Spirit of the Breeze. This was a card that I just wanted to use. You never get its effect off, but it's a good defender if you can get it on board. The Unhappy Maiden is a very good card that just stops your opponent's battle phase when this card gets destroyed. Outstanding Dog Maron. This is a free card in the deck. No matter how this goes to the graveyard, it goes back to the deck. So you can never deck out. And furthermore, it's a free discard on Feather of the Phoenix and so on and so forth. And White Dragonhead, Sea Metal Tank, and finally Pandemonium Watchbear, just because Pandemonium. And then speaking of Pandemonium, moving on to the spell cards, Pandemonium, as I've mentioned, he does have this in his hand, but I couldn't really work out why. So we made that little sort of Archfiend line. And then the Pandemonium Watchbear is in there just for the sake of it. Card of Sanctity, Monster Reborn, Giant Trunade, super. Pot of Greed, MST. Magical Mallet. This card is ridiculously OP. Since it's anime rules, you can shuffle it in as well as the rest of your hand. So it's basically, if you got Card of Sanctity and then draw until you have 6, since it's anime rules, and draw into Magical Mallet through that, you have control of the game from there on. You know, you've just plussed very heavily, and then you can Magical Mallet in whatever you want, and you don't minus from it. And you've got another Magical Mallet coming up if you want. Graceful Charity, Polymerization. Chthonian Alliance, again, you've got to trick out your boys. I got every Chthonian card that you could in Ultimate Rare. I was disappointed that Polymer was never in any rarity other than common. Frontline Base, the Feather of the Phoenix, Premature Burial, Lightning Vortex, and Silent Doom. This isn't the best Resurrection card in the deck, but I can't understress how, if you've got vanilla monsters in a Chazz deck, it is worth using, because it's just, it's an extra Resurrection, and you can't really argue with that in this format. Next we have Chthonian Blast. I only got this in Ultimate because my friend already had it, to be honest, but yeah, this card is really good. It's like a mini Ring of Destruction. If a card you control is destroyed by battle, you target the you just destroy the lowest attack monster on the field, and then both players take it. So it's like a Fissure Ring of Destruction, which brings me on to Ring of Destruction, and of course it's anime effect, so this is OP as hell. Return from a different dimension. It only really has one function, and that's getting this guy out, but which is very unlikely. But other than that, not many things banish. So unless you've had like this guy or XYZ Dragon Cannon out, and you just need the monsters on board. Next we have the Grave of Enkindling. I was going to take this out. It's a very risky card since it gives your opponent anything from his graveyard. You know, there's been a lot of times where, because I'm playing against, mostly against the Guardian Circle, playing a Jaden deck, it's quite often that he will Prisma for a Blade Edge or a Neos, and then he'll have that in the grave, and then this card is basically dead because you just don't have anything to get over that unless you have Mizero on board already, or you know you can go into it. But there are a lot of times when this can help, and that's usually early game, so you really want to start this like opening hand or before your opponent gets into a Prisma. Chthonian Polymer. This is surprisingly consistent as a card. It literally just... The only problem with this card is it's completely countered by Elemental Hero Necroid Shaman, really, because you tribute a monster and then he destroys your monster, and then you get nothing. You get like nothing back, and you get the Necroid Shaman. Otherwise, like because you have the tribute monster, you most likely don't have another one, so the Necroid Shaman doesn't get its effect off. So you'll just lose your monster and get a Necroid Shaman, rather than getting a monster back and then it going off and taking the Necroid Shaman as well. So that's a shame, but what can you do? It's a very good card anyway. I'll finally call the Haunted. So that's the deck. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Like I said, it's a very unorthodox deck. It isn't super good, I'm not gonna lie. It's not got major win ratios against other character decks even, but you know, it's a fun thing to do. It's a fun thing. This is the end of my collection of actual character decks, so I shan't be doing any more of them, but there might be some more deck profiles coming up soon, including Prediction Princess, Pot of Taboos. So yeah, I'll just see you around, guys.